On my parents' anniversary, I gave a sealed wooden box. My mom rolled her eyes and said, "This better not be one of your weird projects again." I said, "Open it before you speak." She didn't. Later that night, my father found it and collapsed. What he saw changed everything. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I wanted revenge. Maybe I wanted justice. Or maybe, deep down, I just wanted to see what would happen when my mother had to finally face the truth. Either way, on my parents' 30th wedding anniversary, I handed them a sealed wooden box. And that night, when my father finally opened it, everything changed. It started at dinner. The restaurant was a fancy one, some overpriced steakhouse downtown with dim lighting and waiters in stiff white shirts. My mother, Vivian, had picked it, of course. She always liked places where she could show off her jewelry, her expensive taste, her perfect little life. My father, Robert, would have been just as happy grilling in the backyard, but he never argued. He never argued about much of anything when it came to her. I arrived a little late, mostly because I had sat in my car for a while, staring at the wooden box in the passenger seat, wondering if I should just turn around and pretend this night wasn't happening. I had built the box myself. Sanded it smooth, stained it dark. A small, simple thing. It looked unassuming. But inside was the truth. I walked in, found my parents already seated at a round table with a bottle of wine between them. My mother looked flawless, as always, red lipstick, nails done, a necklace that probably cost more than my car. My father looked tired. His hair had gone mostly gray over the years, and his face had that quiet, weathered look of a man who had spent most of his life working hard and asking for very little in return. "Darren," my mother said, giving me a quick once-over before taking another sip of her wine. "You're late." "Traffic," I lied, sitting down. "Of course." She turned her attention back to the menu, uninterested. My dad gave me a small smile, the kind that told me he was just happy I showed up. We ordered, made small talk, let the waiter do his whole rehearsed speech about the specials. I barely heard a word of it. My hands rested on the box in my lap, fingers drumming against the wood. I could have waited until later. I could have let them enjoy their expensive meal, let my father have one more evening of peace. But I didn't. I set the box on the table between them. "What's this?" my mother asked, barely looking up. "A gift," I said. "For your anniversary." She rolled her eyes. "This better not be one of your weird projects again. Open it before you speak." She didn't. She just smirked, gave my father a look, and went back to cutting into her steak. I sat back, watching. Later that night, my father found the box. I knew he would. I had left it on the kitchen counter when I got home, knowing he wouldn't be able to resist. My mother had dismissed it at dinner, too caught up in her own world to care. But my father, he had always been the one to appreciate the things I made, the small efforts. He had always been the one who paid attention. So, when my phone started buzzing at 1 a.m., I wasn't surprised. I was, however, terrified. I answered on the second ring. "Dad?" There was nothing at first. Just heavy breathing. Then, a hoarse whisper, "Darren. What did you do?" My stomach dropped. I could hear my mother in the background, her voice shrill and panicked. "Robert, calm down. It's not what you think." I grabbed my keys and ran out the door. The house was in chaos when I arrived. The front door was open. The lights were on. And my father was on the living room floor. His face was pale, his breathing ragged, one hand clutching his chest. My mother was pacing frantically, her phone in her hand, screaming at me the second I stepped inside. "What the HLL did you do?" I ignored her. I dropped to my knees beside my father, gripping his shoulder. "Dad. Hey, look at me. Breathe. You're okay." His eyes opened, glassy and full of something I had never seen in them before. Not pain, not fear. Betrayal. The wooden box lay beside him, open. The contents spilled across the floor. Photographs. Old letters. Receipts. And a single VHS tape. Evidence. I had spent months gathering it all. The affair had been going on for over 15 years. 15 years. And not with some stranger. With his best friend. James. Uncle James, the man who had been in our lives for as long as I could remember. The man who had been at every family gathering, every holiday. The man who had toasted my parents at their 25th anniversary party like he wasn't screwing my mother behind my father's back. I had found the truth by accident, digging through old boxes in the attic while helping my parents clean. Letters, hidden away. Pictures. And then, the tape. A home video, labeled 2007. I had hesitated before playing it. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. And once I pressed play, there was no going back. There she was. My mother. In a hotel room. Laughing, tangled up in James like she hadn't been married for almost 2 decades. I had sat there for a long time after it ended, staring at the screen, my hands shaking. Then I made the box. And now, my father knew. My mother was still shouting, her voice breaking, trying to spin it, trying to make it his fault somehow. Robert, you don't understand. He turned his head, barely able to get the words out. How long? Her mouth snapped shut. Then, finally, she whispered, 15 years. I watched something die in my father's eyes. The paramedics arrived minutes later. Stress-induced heart attack. He survived. But he was never the same. And neither was I. The hospital waiting room smelled like antiseptic and bad coffee. I sat there, elbows on my knees, staring at the floor while my mother paced back and forth, her heels clicking against the tile. We hadn't spoken since we got here. She had tried, of course, tried to justify, to explain, to make it seem like this wasn't her fault. But after years of watching her manipulate my father, I had no patience for it. So, I just sat there. And waited. After what felt like an eternity, the doctor finally came out. He was an older man, silver hair, tired eyes. Are you Robert Carter's family? I stood up immediately. My mother was beside me in an instant. How is he? She asked, her voice trembling, but not with real fear. No, this was performative. I knew my mother. I knew the difference between when she was actually scared and when she was just putting on a show. The doctor sighed. He had a stress-induced heart attack. We managed to stabilize him, but it was a close call. He needs rest, and I strongly recommend avoiding any emotional distress. I almost laughed. Emotional distress? That ship had sailed. Can we see him? I asked. The doctor hesitated, then nodded. Only for a few minutes. We followed him down the hall, past the buzzing machines and quiet whispers of other families dealing with their own tragedies. When we stepped into the room, my father was lying in bed, pale, hooked up to wires and IVs. He looked small. Weak. I had never seen him like that before. His eyes flickered open when he heard us. And then, he saw her. For a moment, he just stared. No yelling, no accusations. Just a long, quiet look. And then, in a voice so tired it barely sounded like him, he whispered, "Get out." My mother flinched. "Robert, get out." She opened her mouth again, probably to argue, but something in his expression made her shut up for once in her life. Then, with one last sharp look at me, like I was the one who had betrayed her, she turned and walked out. I stayed. I sat down in the chair beside him, swallowing the lump in my throat. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then, finally, my father let out a breath. "You knew." I nodded. "For a while." He turned his head toward me. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I looked down at my hands, at the tiny splinters in my fingertips from where I had built that damn box. I didn't know how. He closed his eyes. Neither did I. When my father was released from the hospital 3 days later, he didn't go home. He didn't even talk to my mother. Instead, he packed a small bag and checked into a motel across town, somewhere quiet. I helped him. I didn't ask questions. He was numb, moving like a man who had been hollowed out from the inside. "I don't know what to do," he admitted one night, sitting on the motel bed, staring at the wall. "You leave her," I said simply. He ran a hand over his face. 30 years, Darren. 30 years with her. How do you just walk away from that? I didn't know how to answer that. Because I had never been married. I had never invested my entire life into someone, only to find out it was all a lie. But I did know this, he deserved better. And my mother? She deserved worse. She didn't take it well. The second she realized he wasn't coming back, she showed up at the motel, banging on the door. "Robert, open this goddamn door right now." I was the one who answered. The second she saw me, her eyes narrowed. Of course you're behind this." I folded my arms. "He doesn't want to see you. He's my husband." I scoffed. "That didn't seem to stop you for the last 15 years. She went still. And for the first time in my life, I saw it, real panic. Not anger, not irritation. Fear. She had spent decades controlling every aspect of my father's life, manipulating him into thinking she was perfect. But now, she was losing him. And she knew it. "Darren," she said, her voice softer now, trying to reel me in, the way she always did. "You don't understand. You think this is black and white, but it's not. Marriage is complicated." "Not that complicated," I shot back. "You cheated. For 15 years. She flinched but kept her composure. Your father and I built a life together. You think he can just throw that away? I think you threw it away. Her jaw clenched. You have no idea what it's like to be married. To be with someone for decades, don't. I stepped forward. Don't try to justify it. Don't make excuses. Just own it. She glared at me, breathing hard. You have no idea what you've done, Darren. I didn't flinch. Neither do you. Then, before she could say anything else, I shut the door in her face. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of my mother. The divorce was brutal. She fought it every step of the way. Tried to spin it so that she was the victim. My husband abandoned me. My own son turned against me. I made a mistake, but I don't deserve this, she cried in court, played the role of the devastated wife. But it didn't matter. The evidence spoke for itself. My father got the house. The savings. Everything. She was left with nothing but the mess she had created. And James? Oh, he ran. Packed up and moved to another state like a coward. Didn't even have the guts to face my father after what he did. Good riddance. But here's the thing about betrayal, just because the truth comes out, doesn't mean the scars fade. My father wasn't the same after that. He moved to a small cabin by the lake, spent his days fishing, reading, existing. But the light in his eyes never fully came back. And me? I thought exposing the truth would bring justice. But the more time passed, the more I realized. The truth doesn't heal. It only destroys. And sometimes, that's not enough. Because some people? They deserve worse. My father never spoke about my mother after the divorce. Not once. It was like she had ceased to exist, like she had been erased from his life completely. There were no late-night rants, no bitter complaints, no reminiscing about the good times or what went wrong. Just silence. I wasn't sure if that was better or worse. After the court hearings were over, after my mother had packed up her things and left the house for good, my father moved into the cabin permanently. It wasn't far, only a couple of hours away, but it might as well have been another world. It was quiet, isolated, tucked away near a lake surrounded by trees. The kind of place where no one asked questions and no one expected answers. I visited him often. At first, I thought he might start talking once things settled, that he'd eventually unload the years of betrayal and heartbreak onto me, maybe even thank me for showing him the truth. But he never did. He just lived. Woke up early, brewed coffee on the old gas stove, fished in the mornings, read in the afternoons. Sometimes we'd sit on the small wooden deck in the evenings, staring out at the water, neither of us saying much. And that was it. No closure. No long emotional conversations. Just the quiet weight of everything that had happened, sitting between us. My mother, on the other hand, was not handling things as well. She wasn't the kind of woman who disappeared quietly into the background. No, Vivian Carter had spent her entire life being the center of attention. The perfectly put-together wife, the charming hostess, the woman everyone envied. And now, that life was gone. She had lost the house, the marriage, the reputation. And she hated it. At first, she tried to keep up appearances, acting as if she had chosen to move on, as if she was thriving. I heard from mutual acquaintances that she had rented a condo downtown, that she was doing just fine, that she had even started going to high-end social events again. But the cracks started to show. I got the first call from her about a month after the divorce was finalized. I shouldn't have answered. I knew better. But I did. Darren. Her voice was smooth, controlled, too controlled. I didn't say anything. Just waited. She sighed, as if this was exhausting for her. Are you really going to ignore me forever? Didn't plan on calling you, I admitted. Silence. Then, with that sharp edge she always had when she didn't get her way, she said, you should be ashamed of yourself. I almost laughed. I should be ashamed? Yes. Her voice turned cold. Your father and I had a complicated marriage. You had no right to get involved. You mean I had no right to expose the truth? She huffed. You're so naive, Darren. You think life is black and white. It's not. People make mistakes. I clenched my jaw. A mistake is a one-time thing. You lied to Dad for 15 years. I loved your father. No, you used my father, I shot back. And now that you lost him, you can't stand it. She inhaled sharply, like I had slapped her. I knew she was waiting for me to take it back, to apologize, to play nice like I had my whole damn life. But I didn't. Because I wasn't afraid of her anymore. So I just said, don't call me again. And I hung up. I thought that was the end of it. I hoped that was the end of it. But Vivian Carter didn't go down without a fight. And she had one more move left to play. I started noticing strange things happening around my father's cabin. At first, it was little things. The first time, I didn't think much of it. I had driven up to visit him, and when I got there, I noticed tire tracks in the gravel driveway, fresh ones, from a car that didn't belong to either of us. I figured it was just a delivery truck or someone who had gotten lost on the back roads. But then it happened again. And again. And then, one night, I got a call. It was past midnight. I had been asleep, but the second I saw my father's name on the screen, I was wide awake. Dad? Silence. Then, in a low, tired voice, he said, "She was here." I sat up. "What?" "Your mother," he said. "She was here." My grip tightened on the phone. What did she want? There was a long pause. Then, she said she wants to fix things. I exhaled sharply. "You can't let her back in, Dad." "I know," he murmured. I don't understand why she's doing this." "Because she hates losing," I wanted to say. "Because she's realizing that no one cares about her anymore. Because she needs to feel in control." But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I asked, "Did she leave?" "She left." He hesitated. "But I don't think she's done." He was right. She wasn't done. Not even close. Because my mother was the kind of woman who never accepted defeat. And this time, she wasn't just coming for my father. She was coming for me. The next time my mother showed up, she wasn't alone. She brought a lawyer. I got the call while I was at work, sitting in my tiny office, half listening to my coworker ramble about his weekend. The second I saw my dad's number, I excused myself and answered. "Dad, she's suing me," he said, his voice flat, like he still couldn't believe it. I sat down hard in my chair. "She's what?" "She wants half." Half. Half of everything my father had. Half of the house she hadn't lived in for months. Half of the retirement savings he had worked for. Half of a life she had already destroyed. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to process it. She signed the divorce agreement. She lost. How the HLL can she do this? "She's claiming she was manipulated," he said. "That she signed under emotional distress. That I forced her out of the house." I gritted my teeth. "That's bullshit." "I know," he sighed. "But she's not going away quietly." Of course she wasn't. My mother had spent her entire life playing the victim when it suited her. Now, she was playing the biggest role of her life, the scorned woman seeking justice. I could already picture her rehearsed tears, her carefully crafted sob story, how she would spin it so that she was the one who had been wronged, and the worst part? Some people would believe her. The next few weeks were a nightmare. She filed a motion to contest the divorce settlement, claiming she had been pressured into an unfair agreement. She wanted more money. More property. More everything. And then, she took it a step further. She tried to turn me against my father. I woke up one morning to find a long text message from her. "Vivian Carter, Darren, I know you're angry with me, but you don't understand the full story. Your father hasn't been honest with you. I was unhappy for years, but I stayed because of you. I gave up everything for this family. And now, after all I've sacrificed, I'm being treated like a criminal?" I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting. She was good. She knew exactly how to frame herself as the victim, how to make me doubt, even for a second. But I wasn't a child anymore. I wasn't falling for it. I didn't respond. A few hours later, another text came through. "Vivian Carter, I know things about your father you don't. You think he's innocent? He's not. If you really want the truth, you should talk to me." My hands tightened around my phone. I knew what she was doing. She was trying to plant a seed of doubt. Trying to make me wonder if maybe, just maybe, my father wasn't as innocent as I thought. But I had spent my entire life watching her manipulate people. And this time, it wasn't going to work. I blocked her number. The court date came fast. I sat next to my father in the stiff wooden chairs, watching as my mother walked in with her lawyer, her hair perfectly styled, her expression one of quiet suffering. She barely glanced at us. The hearing dragged on for hours. Her lawyer made her sound like a woman who had been cast aside after dedicating her life to a selfish husband. They painted my father as cold, calculating, someone who had tricked her into signing a one-sided divorce agreement while she was in a fragile state. It was all bullshit. But my mother knew how to play the game. And for the first time, I saw it, real doubt flickering in the judge's eyes. When we left the courthouse that day, my father was quiet. Too quiet. I glanced over at him as we walked to the car. "Dad?" He didn't respond right away. Then, finally, in a low, tired voice, he said, "I don't know how much more of this I can take." I swallowed hard. Because neither did I but my mother? She wasn't done yet. Because lawsuits weren't enough. She didn't just want money. She wanted revenge. And she was about to take things to a whole new level. The day my mother lost everything, she had no idea it was coming. For months, she had dragged my father through court, demanding more money, more assets, more control. She had twisted the story to make herself look like the victim, painting my father as some cold, ungrateful husband who had abandoned her after she had sacrificed everything for the family. But here's the thing about my mother, she was so used to manipulating people that she never stopped to think about what would happen if someone manipulated her. And that's exactly what I did. It started with a phone call. After the court hearing, when my father had looked at me and said, "I don't know how much more of this I can take," I knew I had to end this. Not with anger. Not with violence. But with something my mother had never seen coming, outsmarting her at her own game. So, I called her. She didn't pick up at first. Probably because she thought I was still too angry to talk. But then, a few minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Vivian Carter, so you finally came to your senses?" I smirked. I typed back. "Can we talk? In person?" It took less than 30 seconds for her response to come through. "Vivian Carter, of course, darling. Name the place." We met at a quiet cafe downtown. She arrived exactly on time, dressed in one of her expensive designer outfits, wearing that carefully practiced smile, the one that made people believe she was the perfect woman, the perfect wife, the perfect everything. "Darren," she said warmly, reaching for my hand. I let her take it, watching as she squeezed gently, trying to seem motherly. "I'm so glad you called. I knew you'd understand, eventually." I smiled back. I just needed time to see things clearly. Her eyes flickered with satisfaction. "Of course." I leaned forward. "I just want to know one thing." "Anything." I tilted my head. "Why did you stay with Dad for all those years? If you were unhappy, why not leave?" She sighed, playing the role of the poor, misunderstood woman perfectly. "Oh, sweetheart, marriage is complicated. I did love your father. But I needed security. And let's be honest, your father was never a risk taker. He played it safe, and that stability is what allowed us to have such a beautiful life." I nodded slowly, as if considering her words. Then, I dropped the BMB. "I know about the offshore account." Her smile froze. For the first time, I saw a flicker of real panic in her eyes. It was fast, just a second, but I caught it. I sat back, watching her carefully. "You didn't think I'd find out, did you?" She forced a laugh. "Darren, I have no idea what you're talking about." "Oh, come on, Mom. You're better than that." I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and turned it toward her. "You really thought I wouldn't dig deeper? That I wouldn't follow the paper trail?" Her eyes darted to the screen. It was an email. An email from a very expensive lawyer she had hired months ago. An email discussing a certain account in the Cayman Islands. An account she had been funneling money into for years, quietly, carefully, just in case she ever needed to leave my father and take more than her fair share with her. And now? Now, she was suing him, claiming she had been left with nothing. But she had plenty. And I had proof. Her entire face changed. The fake warmth, the motherly concern, it all vanished in an instant. What was left was pure calculation. "How did you get that?" she asked, her voice sharp. I smirked. "Oh, Mom. You of all people should know, people talk when you know where to listen." She clenched her jaw, but I could see her mind racing. "You're bluffing," she said, testing me. I shrugged. "Try me." Her hands curled into fists on the table. "You wouldn't," she hissed. I raised an eyebrow. "Wouldn't what? Take this to the court? To the IRS? To the judge overseeing your little lawsuit against Dad?" Her breathing was uneven now. I could see the walls closing in on her. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued, keeping my voice calm. "You're going to drop the lawsuit. Today. You're going to walk away with what you already got in the divorce, and you're never, never, going to come after Dad again." She glared at me. "And if I don't?" I leaned in, lowering my voice. "If you don't, I make sure you lose everything." She knew I meant it. Her lawyer had fought hard in the divorce to keep financial records from being exposed. If a judge saw what she had done, hiding money, lying about assets, she wouldn't just lose the case. She'd lose everything. The house. The condo. The reputation she cared so much about. And possibly even her freedom. We sat there for a long moment, locked in a silent battle. Then, finally, her shoulders dropped. Her perfect, polished mask cracked just a little. "You really are your father's son," she muttered bitterly. I smiled. "Thanks." She exhaled sharply, then reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. Right there, in front of me, she called her lawyer. Drop the case, she said coldly. Effective immediately. I watched her carefully, making sure she actually did it. When she hung up, she looked at me, her expression unreadable. You think this makes you the hero? She asked. No, I said simply. It just makes me done with you. She flinched. And for the first time in my life, I saw something in my mother's eyes that I never thought I'd see. Regret. Not for what she had done. But for the fact that, after all her years of manipulation and control, she had lost me. Completely. She stood up without another word, grabbing her purse. And just like that, she walked out of my life. I watched her go, waiting for the usual guilt, the second guessing. But it never came. I took a deep breath, feeling lighter than I had in years. Then, I pulled out my phone and called my dad. It's over, I said. She's gone. Silence. Then, my father let out a breath. A long, shaky breath, like he had been holding it in for years. Thank you, son. For the first time in a long time, his voice sounded free. And that? That was the best revenge of all.
الغنوة اللي جاية دي حضراتكم هقولوها معايا، يعني انتوا رغبتكم، بس انتوا اول ما هتسمعوها هتعرفوا. انما انا عايز اقول لكم هي كلمات مين؟ هي كلمات الدكتور مدحت العدل والحان خالد حماد وتوزيعه برضه. هنغنيها اول ما تسمعوا الدخول هتغنوا معانا على طول.